Well, good afternoon, and thank you for tuning in to Believe Radio, which is a 24-hour inspirational and gospel music station. The Eyes of the Conscious Soul brings to you every first Saturday of the month from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. the Cafe Le Blue Lounge, where there are 15 to 45-minute segments called The Corner. Each corner may have a blueprint that is unique of its own. So sometimes we ask you to sit back, relax, and vibe out to cool sounds at times. However, we also make sure that you are tuning into our fireside chats and be inspired by affirmations and inspirational messages. The first corner on the Cafe Le Blue Lounge is the Artist Talk. We showcase musicians, poets, singers, dancers, film producers, authors, comedians, gospel and R&B rappers from around the Bay Area to across the globe. They will share their creative process and lived experience. The other part of the corner you may check out and catch is Why I Dream. We highlight and honor the inventions and creative work of brilliant minds along with the geniuses from our past. We are preserving African American history and culture in order to keep our legacy alive. The other part of the corner could be She Who Believes Takes Off the Mask. This is where you will hear from individuals that will tell their personal testimonies to what the Lord has done for them in their lives and inspirational messages. Also, we are highlighting golden lights affirmations to impart healing medicine in the soil of the brilliant minds of today. That is on the first Saturday of the month. Every second Saturday of the month, which is today, is the medicine hour, which is Mr. George Pearson, and I am his co-host. We are here to share with you that we believe in building a better tomorrow starts with us. Topics we cover: health issues and concerns, healthy eating habits, education, financing, and politics in the African American community. We believe taking care of our temple, mind, and spirit is essential to having mental wellness, definitely healthy eating habits, and knowing that healthy thinking leads to a healthy way of living. Every third Saturday of the month, we have the Medicine Hour. The founder and producer, Mr. George Pearson. Education is the Best Medicine is a 501c3 nonprofit charitable organization, which is a community-based health educational advocacy-based and a resource-based organization that uses public media resources, radio, newspaper, and church-based community health fairs to provide health information and education. And you would say your new vision is?
Oh, we always say that vision is artists seeing things yet unseen, and that's enough.
Bringing dark.
Bringing light to a very dark world.
Okay. So every fourth Saturday of the month from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m., we have the Lights Out Straight Talk Youth and Young Adult Radio Show with my co-host, the Doc, the Voice, and the Prince of Hearts. And this is where we have the young individuals, young folks, we have young adults come in and talk about the different challenges and the gifts that they have that they display in this world. That is on the fourth Saturday of every month. And I forgot to say, on the first Saturday of the month, my co-hosts are Rose and B6. Never want to forget my co-host. And every fifth Saturday of the month, which is going to be a new segment, and it's going to be Voices That Care. We're going to be honoring individuals that have suffered and family members that's dealing with mental illness and re-entry. But today on Believe Radio, which is a 24-hour inspirational gospel and music station, the Medicine Hour, today we are honoring those who tell our story. And we have Miss Janet Barnes, an artist, a muralist, and her series is It's Dinner Time. So we want to say thank you for being here today. We're so grateful and thankful. I have a mouthful. I got to share
I love it.
what's going on with us every Saturday.
Yes.
As I said before, we
Great.
bring information that's going to empower our community.
Yes, I see.
And this is what we are all about. But again, we want to say thank you for being here. It's an honor and a privilege to have you in Women's Month. In
Yes.
the honor of Women's Month. And we are honoring you because you definitely tell us tell our stories. Can you please share a little bit about yourself?
Okay, I can. Well, first, I'd like to say thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
It's an honor to be here and to allow me to share my story about my dinner time series that I created. I'm a visual artist. I've been an artist all my life, as long as I can remember. I'm a 2D artist, so what that is, I call it social abstract. So my art is a oil pastel and acrylic mix, or what I'm feeling there on 2D and a 2D delivery and presentation. I started my dinner time series, which you're talking about. It's been almost 30 years. It's been a while.
Wow.
It's been a while.
A process.
Yes, it's been a while. It's been a process, and it got me to a place where I said, I love this. I love sharing it. And what it is, I bring the dinner time to life in my artwork and how important it is. It's an everyday ritual that families do, and traditions that we take. We don't take it for granted, but we just take it as life. But when I bring it out, and when you think about it, just how powerful dinner time, anytime that you sit down at the table, who you're sitting with, who's preparing it, your family rituals, how important it is. And I didn't realize it when I was young.
Right.
You're there, and I don't think anyone does. You realize when you're young just how important is sitting down to the table, whether it's dinner, whether it's with a friend, family, any kind of makeup of family. But then I realized when I got older that this is a place where people come together, and the food brings you to the table. The love brings you to the table, and you have to be there with your family. But it's those memories and those conversations, and that becomes so important, that you remember later on and you cherish later on in life. My family is my biggest muse.
That's what I was getting ready to say. Can you share about your family?
My family is my biggest muse, and when I'm the youngest of 5. We've been living in Fairfield. My father was Air Force military, brought us to Travis Air Force Base in 1968. California became our home. And California, of course, I think we're on 5 generations here. 4 generations, I'm sorry. Here, living in the Bay Area, and some are outside in different states. But this was our focus, and just watching us at the table. And you start thinking about, my mother was a fabulous cook. Her traditions, I see it come down when I have 3 older sisters that have taken putting that same love into what they cook and sharing it with their families. And I'm even seeing it in my nieces and nephews and their generation.
Right.
And when I think about this and I put it into my art, I think everyone, it doesn't matter what race, doesn't matter what country, doesn't matter with your financial background, you're going to sit at the table. You're going to enjoy what you bring there, who you bring to that table.
That's right.
Think about your dining room table. Think about who has shared Thanksgiving with you.
So many stories.
Yeah, and you can start thinking about, who's came to your table, who's invited. Even if you go out to dinner with someone, it's still a special experience. We always gather around a table, and I thought, that's a big part of life. That's a big part of life that steers people into different directions.
Right.
And every time I'm creating one, the whole time I'm creating it, all those memories come back. And it's all the positive memory, all the love, or all the problem solving that came out of it. And so, it becomes very powerful.
Mother and father's name and family's name.
And I have to say my mom, my
grandma,
family bringing up, I would say it would be like a fairy tale. It was a beautiful childhood coming up. It still is. Right. My father, Will H. Barnes, yes, like I said, he was Air Force, retired in 1972. My mom and dad decided we're going to stay in Fairfield. It's a nice little town right there in the center. My father then went on to become a dean, assistant dean at Solano Community College after he got out. So we stayed right there with Solano College being right there with us. My mother, they worked as a team. She was at home, and she was everything, though. It was so well organized, so well loved. I can't say enough about it. No. They passed on in 2013, and I remember I did her dinner time because we buried my mom the day before Thanksgiving, one of our biggest holidays. And I'm looking around the table, and I thought, okay,
Thanksgiving. So she was passing the torch on in Thanksgiving to her family.
And I have to say, my sisters didn't miss a beat. And my aunt was there, her younger sister. Since everyone was there, it was a Thanksgiving at my mom's house. We didn't miss a beat of just going. But I'm looking around the table and I'm thinking, okay, we are the matriarchs now. Yes, we're running it, but it's still showing going down. So it even made me more wanting to share. Yeah. Is going from generation to generation.
Well, I was just going to ask you, first of all, thanks for coming on the show. This is in honor of Women's Month and Women's, and in some cases, international women, depending on who you talk to. I was more interested in your creative process and what, and for example, some of artists that I know take from the natural surroundings in terms of creation of a particular piece or conceptual piece. So I kind of want to understand your creative process in that. I know it's around family, but what sends you down to pen and paper? What triggers you?
What triggers me going in? Yeah. On the dinner time, because I have several different series, several different series that dinner time we're here for. But what has me going for that is the last one that the one that I'm creating now. It's centered around listening to Generation 3. It was my great nieces and nephews, and I know it's going to carry on. Okay. Right now, they're not going to realize what I'm doing, right. But I know. Sometimes I look to where someone's going to see it. My process is in the creation, and one of my biggest inspirations is Jacob Lawrence. Okay. How he brought everyday life. I'm trying to bring in everyday life to an art piece. His color, his style. I want it as bright. I want it as sharp, using the acrylics. I want it as sharp to present like that, so you'll notice difference. Yes. And my style is, my paper's getting, I love them I work on a large scale. Not too large, but they come out 28 by 37s because I want that presence to be there for you to see it. But my feeling when I'm going into a process, I want you to be able to look at it and get the passion out of it. So I'm painting passion. I'm painting. It could be anyone's conversation. You can see what conversation's there. I'm not a realistic artist. So you can see my hands moving 50 miles an hour going, but you can actually tell what they're doing. You can probably feel exactly what they're saying. And as I said, I have different series. My jazz series, you can hear them playing.
Before you go there,
yes,
just came to mind, thank you, Mr. Pearson, for asking that question, was your childhood. Growing up, what inspired you? And what was the things that you like to do? I'm trying to see, was there a pattern? Was there to tie into what?
To what the art.
Yeah, yes. To who you are today.
And I would say, as long as I can remember, I mean, early years, even in elementary school, art led me everywhere. Art led me everywhere. From in school to, actually school and my elementary led me to murals because I had a librarian that was so positive, and she would let me do these giant displays and art pieces for new books that were coming out. Wow! So I know that's what, and that taught me that I like a big scale. My childhood with that was so comfortable, that I was able to do that. Even though I'm sure regular kid out there exploring other things, but art, I always came back to art. And for the different series and the different makes, it was the everyday. It was really the everyday life. I would put it on paper because I wouldn't draw anything like I'm going to flowers or something like that. It was a setting. It was always a setting. I can remember young drawing me and my sister sitting somewhere in the bedroom or in the house, just sketching. Right. Never came. Yes, just never. But I do say I thought I was going to be a cartoonist. Okay. I thought I was going to be a commercial artist because I like the fastness of it. I like putting something together, and I like to tell a story. Right. So I figured out a way to tell a story. But then I found what I want to share the most.
Do you think it's easier to create something quickly, and I think this goes on for most artists, their inspirational flavor about whatever it is they're trying to create. It may be a more complex piece quicker and a more not as complex piece, but because you want to say a particular message, it's a longer process of creating it.
when I say quick, I might sketch it out quick, but the
Mhm.
process of making the artwork, it might
Takes
take a
time.
couple months.
Yeah.
Yes, on my
Yeah.
pieces, it's
Yeah.
still taking a couple of months.
Yeah.
Even on a mural, I
Okay.
might think. One thing I do process when I'm doing I process. I don't sketch anything out. Even if I'm doing a mural, I'll look at that wall and whatever comes out comes out,
Right.
and I'm not erasing.
That's
So you're going to see lines going through. You saw my chefs up there in my dinner time. You might see the fray and the lines, and I do that on purpose because that's my energy.
And you know, it's beautiful that you said that because me working with some of the youth and the young kids, they're like, Miss B, Miss Howard. They call me Miss B, call me Miss Howard.
Yeah.
I made a mistake. I said, no, you did not. In art, no,
Yes.
you didn't. I said, no. What you're going to do is work around that piece, add to it, put something there.
Yes.
Nothing is a mistake.
Nothing.
And they were like, after they come back and they showed, I said, now you see?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh my God, no, it
Yes.
was not a mistake. And that shows me also a part of, like you said,
Yes.
everyday life. There's things that happen to us in our lives. There's challenging things that happen to us. And it's not a mistake because it's
we learn from it. Yeah.
There we are.
And I'm glad you brought that up because my day job is I'm a coordinator for an after-school program, middle school in Antioch. So I'm with 45 to 50 middle schoolers a day.
Yes.
And art is a big part of it.
Yes.
So I go through that conversation quite a bit.
Yeah.
I go to that conversation quite a bit.
That's
and they're
right.
so talented and they're a great inspiration.
Yes, they are.
Their imagination is there. But, if they make a mistake, I was telling them, I've got more paper. I'll never run out of paper, but I try to convince them just like you do.
That's right.
Just you can figure it out. Yeah, you can figure that out.
And once
it does,
see them figure it out, a light bulb goes off. And it's like,
yes. Once you they finish a product, and then I always frame it for them and put a mat, and then when I flip it over to show them, that's when that light bulb I did
goes.
This.
Yes.
And once you get that confidence in a child, and they do that, there's no stopping them.
None.
Yeah, they have a safe place to go to. There's no stopping them. Yes.
You know, and I'm glad we're talking about the children because this is definitely about empowering our community, empowering our families. We have to get back to dinner time. Yeah. We have to get back to family time. It's a must. In our culture,
I agree.
That's us. We're taking on so many others, cultures and different things. We need to get back to our culture because it was a significant piece. And in that, we learned a lot. Yes. Problem solving, this and that. And I'm saying this to say, some of the students I was sharing with them is like, they didn't want to use their imagination. And I'm like, sweetheart, your imagination is the key to life. Because I'm like, okay, how do you think the cell phone was created? How do you think what you're sitting on was created? It was imagination. And sometimes these devices can take away from the imagination. And I would say to the parents, have some time with them to sit down, read, or do some art and use their imagination because it's going to be hard for them to come out of that when they get older.
Oh, yeah. That's my program. That's my after school program. See? They hate giving up, not using those phones, but after a while they forget.
And they forget.
And they start, they have to figure out everything. Yes.
So I guess I would say, as art manifests itself in culture, and you were saying that, you try to be maybe colorless about the art. What's your impact culturally as a woman in regards to the pieces that you produce?
I can barely hear you, Mr. Pearson.
I said,
now I can hear you.
Which, again, I kind of heard the tone of trying to remain colorless in terms of your art, but the very idea of dinner time is a cultural piece.
Yes, it is. Yes.
How does culture influence you in terms of your art being an African American woman, and what things do you think it adds, and what things do you think it takes away?
Oh, I love the question because my piece, one important part, you'll see my drawings, and no matter if I'm talking about different families, it's still going to be a Black family on my painting.
That's right.
Because we're representing, I want every child to see that when I'm drawing, it's going to be them going to it. A piece that I have in Joyce's right now is called Traditions, because I think it's important for our culture. I always think of the 60s and 70s when I was in school. Went to schools on Air Force bases, and there we didn't see ourselves in the history books. We didn't talk about the migration, and we didn't talk. The dinner table did. So when I do my talk, I always talk about how important the table is because it was a little bit of our history. You knew where Uncle such and such came from. You knew where Aunt. You knew because you hear. We would sit there and eat. Of course, you weren't you weren't speaking, but you were sitting. You were listening, and you learned a lot of your history. And that's the way a lot of the African American families. It was around that dinner table.
Yeah.
And we are griots and griots. We are storyteller people.
We are very storytellers. The piece I have afternoon, and she's snapping beans with her grandmother. Do you know how much information she's going to get out of that? And I wanted to keep going, so I'm giving them the information of how powerful it was because our history is there.
Yes, true.
Our history is there, even in your own family.
That's right.
The kids are listening and might think, but then they realize, I remember them talking about. I know where we came from. Where did you learn where you came from? We were sitting at that table. It doesn't come up all the time. When your mother is sitting there talking to your grandmother and your aunts and your uncles, and you're 9 years old, you know you're hearing this.
Yeah.
And you're going to remember it. You don't think about it then, but you will remember.
Right, because you soak it in.
So my pieces, what you're saying, as you see him, and you saw him in Joyce, she's sitting at the table snapping beans with her grandmother, or it could be your mother. There is a piece that's called Tradition 2020, and you always see collard greens. And I'm always thinking that's something you're going to pass down.
Right.
You know, at Thanksgiving, there's one person that brings in the collard greens. There's one person that brings in the dressing that you know they make it the best.
Yes.
That's a tradition of where it's coming from, where you learn about that food. And that's what that 2020, Tradition 2020 is striking me because my sister and two of my sisters make the collard greens. One of them makes it. One makes the dressing.
Right.
2020, we couldn't be together. Their nieces and their daughters and daughter-in-laws live in different states, so they're on Zoom.
Plus COVID.
COVID, yes, teaching them how to make it because they wanted it at the table.
That's right.
And they wanted our recipe at the table, which is a part of them coming down. It makes the next generation, our generation, and the next generation, look up about food.
That's right.
Yes,
that's right.
And I know what I'm feeling.
Soul food and what's soul food now is totally different. And we were really a very plant-based oriented society. And, you know, the dinner table was communal. It was communal peace. Again, as we keep wrapping ourselves around Women's History Month, and I have to say the marginalization of African American women in that whole picture of suffrage, you know, and how the art was a vehicle for making and having a discussion around that message. And I'm a proponent of artificial intelligence, and I pulled something up and I asked about African American women and women's rights because I think it's really important as an artist you have the right to do what you do. That you be free to communicate in however form you want to communicate because that's your message, and that message not be limited by what we're seeing now. You know, I think attacks not only in the society but attacks on women. So I think it's really the question is, well, you know, how more political your art get because of what's going on now.
I do have one series called Glory Series. And that series, it came to me, and it's all political. Glory is the song Glory from John Legend and Common. I heard it in 2015 on the Grammys. And I just kept listening to it over and over, and just the movement of those hands. That was in 15. And there's one on display right now at the Richmond Art Center for the Art of Living Black. But on the Glory series I think it was everything growing up, 60s and 70s, and you're hearing things that are going on in the world. I never was political, but it's coming out now. And so these pieces, which are every time I put them out, very well received. I can't keep them. Yes, I can't keep them. I'm putting a message on there, but my series is telling about the women and the men who are warriors.
Yes.
It's almost like a thank you, but it's bringing it to light what happened in the 60s, but what's happening now. My newest piece that just sold, it's called Carry On, and that was John Lewis's last book. John Lewis's last book that I have, and he was always one of my favorite. It was one of my dad's favorites, John Lewis. So I learned about him through my father, my mother, and my grandmother. Same thing, listening to them talk. And the message Carry On that I'm getting through my Glory series, that is to carry on to the next generation.
Yeah.
Not only the men, but the women.
That's
to
right.
carry on when you do it, because they're the AIs now.
That's right.
They're the electronic. They have it's called the wisdom of the elders and the energy of the young. They're going to bring that together. So that whole series, which is a series of 12, and I have one left, but I'm still producing them. That is my political part on it.
So it kind of aligns our message and the message of women, Women's Month, again, International Women, is that you need to honor people to tell our stories. And so one of the biggest keys is that not just to tell the story, but honor those people that tell that story, because they took a great deal of trauma in order to provide that story, depending on what part of 300 years we're talking about, or 400 years what we're talking about. And, I was preparing for the show, and I was thinking about women and women's rights, right? And so particularly, Barbara knows me about, I'm really more concerned about African American women of the 1619 persuasion, or those women that were part of the white paper in California. If you haven't read it, it's a reparations paper in regards to the pathologization of the black family. And women, so I just think it's kind of ironic in the this time now we're having women's rights being attacked. We have the right to decide whether they want children or not, to go to school. Again, this is much fairer for our artists, and have to, because our artists, through that vision that you provide, a message about what's going on, maybe even how to solve it. Yeah.
Well, visionaries do.
Yes.
Visionaries do.
And what you're saying, as you're saying it, I'm thinking of all the different artist friends and that I know that bring it out in some way.
Yeah.
They bring it out in all different ways. It's going through my mind, some of the artists, as he's saying. I've seen it, I've been to shows where it's all about, different political things or different things hit them, and boy, do they bring it to life.
And everybody has a different calling.
Yes.
So with their art, their calling that's why they're focusing truly on that piece, is because that's a part of their DNA. That's their call for that's their purpose. Your life purpose is what you bring to the table, is what you bring to us.
Yes.
And we're the dinner time.
Yeah.
And which is so, like we were saying before, we need that back. We need that back. Yes. We need it back.
And I'm glad you said that, because I sit down at my table or I'm doing something, and I might be working on something else, but my mind and my passion then take me right back to dinner time. And then the only reason I started Glory, it was because of John Lewis and me hearing about it. But now my mind will go, when I'm doing my Glory series. So you do have a calling. Yes. You don't just, I think today I'm going to draw them. No, it just comes out. Or I'll wake up in the middle of the night and go, oh, okay, I know what I'm going to put right there. Yes, what you're going to put. And then I think of, and I first thought, okay, Janet, what's going on? But think of artists, and they do all have a calling.
That's right.
And you can pick out an artist from what they come up with.
Well, I put in this chat piece. It says, and this is AI, this chat box AI, and it's kind of artificial intelligence. And I asked the question.
I use it all the time. I use it.
Yeah, as African American women and women's rights. It says African American women have been historically marginalized and discriminated against, both as women and as African Americans. They have faced multiple forms of oppression that have limited their access to education, employment, healthcare, and political representation. Again, this is the spectrum of Women's Month, and I just wanted to emphasize it's not all right on the farm, and we continue to marginalize women of color. And this is one of these artificial intelligence pieces that says the same thing. So if this is a culmination of all the knowledge that we understand, and it still comes out that this is still,
it's artificial.
Well, it's traumatic. Even artificial intelligence knows that Black women are being traumatized. So it is, everything's fine. She's doing fine. So I think we kind of have to always keep that in perspective. And when they talk about women's rights and Women's Month, and from where I have to start is 1619 and the oppression of African American people, particularly women.
So with that, the spirit I'm a firm believer
Yes.
of the Spirit speaking to you and speaking to us. That's been our culture. It is our culture.
Yes.
We can't get away from it. So with that, is there any particular ancestor that speaks to you in your spirit and say, you kind of like find yourself in alignment with them?
Okay, let's see. I would say, it's a good one. That's a good one. Because I remember you talking about yours just then before. I would have to go back. I don't have to go back too far. I always believe the good outweighs bad in anything. So every time I come back to it, it's going to be one that, of course, everyone honors, and it's Martin Luther King.
That's right.
Even though it go back as far, just I knew more about him, and to me, he gives me the open door to look for somebody else that you meet. That's where John Lewis came in. I said, okay, he was sitting right there, and the painting that I had, he was 17 at a counter.
Yes.
But you look into him, and then he's with this person. It makes me go to that next person. It makes me go to that woman in history. It makes me realize, okay, this is bigger than this. But he's that instrument that gets me there. He really is. He's that instrument that gets me to open up to see somewhere else, to take me there, and to learn more about. Yes. Yes.
And when we learn more about them, we learn more about ourselves. It's crazy how like this month is, when we do the Phenomenal Woman, it's always in honor of Harriet Tubman's birthday.
Yeah, and that was to bring it to her. Yes.
Right, and that's coming up. So we know, where can people find you? And where are your art pieces? In Joyce Gordon Gallery, which is 406 14th Street in Oakland, California.
Yes.
And then
Joyce has she has a series of my chefs, and I think she has 2 dinner time pieces.
Okay.
I'm also a vice president and a longtime member of the Fairfield Susan Visual Arts Association. And
it's my first time hearing about this.
Yes, we have a gallery and we have a gallery in Fairfield.
Okay.
And it's I'm curator of that gallery, so every once in a while I have a piece in there. But you can find me online on my, actually you'd have to go to my Facebook page now and look me up, and you'll see all the different series there.
And it's your first name and last name?
It's my first name and last name.
Okay.
Yes. And then I do have a piece. I'm honored to say that last year, the Crocker Art Museum in Sacramento contacted me, said they had looked me up and bought one of my dinner time pieces. Excellent. So it's now part of the collection of the Crocker Art Museum in Sacramento. So I'm a museum artist now. Yes. It's a beautiful piece called 2037 West Madison.
Ooh,
this is my grandmother.
What's in there?
It's my grandmother's kitchen. Yes.
Oh my God.
It's my grandmother's kitchen, but it has our table, our 60s table in our kitchen. And it's representing women, those women who go out and work, which my grandmother was.
Right.
Single, going out and work, but you still have time to sit down
for dinner
with your children before you go out to take care. So it's one that they picked up on. And like you said, how I spread for our community, when I give a talk or when I present it, after they wanted to purchase it, to present it to them, that's what they loved about it.
Wow.
And said, okay, yes, because it's opening up a whole new door. Like you said, we've got to bring it back.
Yes.
I think it's an information center.
Yes.
Yes. I've seen it with the generations of my sisters, and I have one brother, 3 older sisters. I see it with my nieces and nephew, their children that are strong, successful, kind, and I know that has something to do with it. Yes. And they're doing it for their children, for my great nieces and nephews. I still see it in them. And that's what I sit back and look at.
Yes.
And I think this works. And I have families some of my good friends, my families that do the same, because are at the dinner table, and I see the difference. I know it's a difference.
And I'm a legacy person, so it's like I was brought up that way. Yeah. So to have that, hearing you say that, that's the legacy that they're leaving for the family, the traditions to keep going on. That's a beautiful.
I would say it's a tradition of love.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's easy to go get something quick to eat, let's go here or there.
That's
but
true.
when you're making dinner, when you're having guests over and you're making dinner, how you're making sure it's perfect.
Yes.
You're going to serve your best. Oh, yes.
What you're doing.
You're going to put those extra things out. And that's what you do. That's the love that goes
and you can
into
feel it. You can feel it when you're eating that food.
Yes.
Oh, you know.
They always say it starts at home.
Yeah.
So let's start at home with all that love and then send them out into the world.
That's true.
Thank you for tuning in
Yes.
to
Thank
Believe
you.
Radio, which is a 24-hour music and gospel station. We thank you for tuning in every first Saturday of the month. On Cafe Le Blue Lounge, we have the Artist Talk, Why I Dream, She Who Believes Takes Off the Mask. Every second Saturday of the month, we have the Medicine Hour, which we have today. This is where we believe building a better tomorrow starts with us. Topics we cover are health issues and concerns, healthy eating habits, education, finance, and politics in the African American community. Every third Saturday of the month is the Medicine Hour. Mr. George Pearson, the founder and producer. And then every fourth Saturday of the month, we have the Lights Out Straight Talk Youth and Young Adult Radio Show. Every fifth Saturday of the month, we will have Voices That Care. So, with the information that you're sharing with us today, um, being a black woman, owning that, because people with me, they like, oh, you black. I'm like, yes, I grew up with say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud, and I'm so grateful that my father and mother would impart that in us, and knowing that we can go into the world and own our blackness and be okay. And a lot of our kids and people today are faced with, do I own this?
Yes.
And that's a part, to me, a part of some of the challenging things that they have to deal with personally and how they maneuver in the world.
Yes.
What do you think about how do you show up as a black woman?
I believe I have that. What you're saying,
Yes.
because of your parents, it comes from your family. They give you that confidence. They give you that
Yes.
strongness, and you do have to show the confidence. You have to show that positive. That I know where I'm going. I know where I'm going. I'm going to walk into any door like I own it.
Come on
Yes.
now, say that
I've got
again.
to walk in. If my art's going up, I never walk in with my art piece in. I hope someone will like it. I don't care. I'm going to show you who I am.
That's right.
I want to show you who I am. If you like it, hey, I'm great with that. If not, hey, that's still me.
Right.
And I still,
being authentic.
Yes. And you be authentic, and then you see, it feels good.
Yes.
You feel good, and you keep going. Yes.
And
I'm around very strong women.
That's
Very
good.
strong women. My sisters are all very strong women, very successful women. And being the youngest of them, you see that all the time. Yes.
Yeah.
And my mother was, you see it all the time. Just in the, I think I'm looking at your belief. That's so funny because that's one of my strong words that I have in mind. So I know that was a connection.
We have you on Believe Radio.
Yes. I know that's a song. I just keep looking at it because it's something I always say. But I always say, to be strong is to be kind also. It's to be kind.
And that's what it's about.
It's
People
to be
think we're talking
patient.
about strong like a
No.
guy. No. Strong in who you are as a black woman.
It's to be kind.
Owning
It's
that.
to be patient.
Yes.
And yes. And it really is. It goes a long way. It goes a long way. Yes.
Well, I think that we did a series on, the myth of the super black woman.
The myth of the super
black woman.
That's
where you were going.
Right.
You said the myth?
The myth of the super black woman.
So, conceptually, before the 19th century, you had black women being played as either the mammy, the Jezebel, or the angry black woman. And so what black women chose past the 19th century was being a strong black woman. But that got confused with being a super black woman. So I always say now that African American women can be strong, but they don't have to be super.
Right.
And I've heard conversations as this before, and they were saying, how they show them, predict them. But I think in the background, the ones that were, on TV, that's what they wanted you to see.
Come on now.
But I think the black women knew who they were.
Well, again,
they didn't play into. I think they really knew who they were. Going from my parents and my aunt and my grandmother, you're portraying this, but they weren't showing that to us. To our generation, to their children, they weren't showing. They weren't being.
You can only control the images that you have control over.
Yes.
And I'm saying that from that standpoint, women of color did not have control over their imagery.
Right.
Yes.
And so that's where this whole piece came about, because if black women did pick, because if they picked something, they chose strong over everything else. But again, that didn't mean super, but over the translation
Well,
of this
that was
issue.
them putting the super part on
Well,
us
well,
too.
yeah. I mean, it works. So I mean, I'm just
Right.
saying this is a male issue too, because we
Yeah.
thought, I thought my mom was super.
Mm-hmm.
She
Yeah.
she had to be strong. She didn't have to be super. So that's again one of the myths that's perpetuated, and so we have our young black women thinking they have to be super, when in reality they just have to be strong.
Human.
Yeah, right. So anyway, thought about
Thank you
Yeah.
for tuning in to the
I
Out of the
like
Country
it.
Dope
Yeah, yeah.
on the
I
Medicine
get that. Yeah.
Hour. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah.
Oh no. You're
No, it's a lot of literature being constructed about it, because again, we have to get off these really unhealthy dynamics. And so my expectation as a male shouldn't be that you be a superwoman. My expectation is that you be a strong, intelligent,
Authentic woman.
authentic woman.
That's what I
And
mean.
so,
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Just be who you
that's
are,
I think
Be
so.
who
We
you are.
kind of redefine this. So the expectation is, if you want your mother, then marry your mother, or date your mother, because you're not gonna have anyone like your mother. So yeah.
So we're not going my mother's dead anyway, so
Yeah.
I'm kidding. She's
Yeah.
not here, she's in heaven. But
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying. But
Yeah.
the beauty about my
Yeah.
mother being strong,
Mhm.
and she wasn't a superwoman, but at first I thought growing up that not that she was weak, it was that why she won't, because she was so, I didn't know she was a quiet storm until I got
Mhm.
older. So
Yeah.
I would hear different things, and she would not disrespect my father in front of nobody, never, and we don't either. However, or any man, I would think she would like behind the closed doors, and like you said, in the house. Oh wait, oh wait, no. But she knew how to be pleasant, meek, kind, and she was that. But carrying on into me as a woman
Yeah.
growing up, I'm
Mhm.
like, some things clicked as I'm old. I'm like, oh, okay. Some
Right.
different things came to my mind about my mom,
Mhm.
because I wasn't close to my mother. My sisters were closer to my mother. I was closer to my father. So of course, anything she did to my dad, I was like, what are you doing to my father? But however, it didn't dawn on me until I got older about how my mother and my father interacted together.
A team.
A
Yeah.
team.
Yeah.
A team. And
A
in
team
the
of
bakery,
raising their children. Oh yeah, you had
and we had the bakery inside of that. That's what I seen,
Mhm.
But other than that, she had his support, had his back, and that was his dream.
Mhm.
The bakery was his dream. It wasn't
she
my
was
mother's dream.
Yeah.
Other than my mom coming from a family of entrepreneurs. She grew up, they had the family storehouse and all that kind of stuff, but she supported my father, and it became her dream too. But I often would wanted to ask her, okay, what if it wasn't that? What else would you like to do? And I didn't get a chance to ask her that question.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I have not gotten a chance, and I can still ask her in spirit, and I believe in that. So with mom, what was some of the traits that that you've gotten from her?
From my
From
mother.
your mom.
From my mother.
From your mother.
Yes. My mom was like I said, they were a team.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's the way that she cared for her family.
Yes.
And she always made sure her family was taken care of.
That's what she did.
I did. Her love for her family was shown through every way. Yes.
And you just answered my question.
Mm-hmm.
That just came back to my mind.
Yes.
God said, because that's what my mother did.
Yeah.
She did that.
Yeah.
She took care of her family.
Yes.
And it wasn't about her.
Yeah.
It was about us.
I'm a mother. I have 5 children. I think it's even when my father retired, while we stayed in Fairfield, I always remember her saying the reason she stayed, it seemed like a nice, safe place to raise 5 kids, five kids. And we were just becoming, at the time, we had 3 teenagers in the house, somewhere I can be, I think it was every step they made was to make sure that their kids, okay. Yes, and I think she's from Arizona. My father was from Georgia. Atlanta and Phoenix.
My father was from Georgia and mom from Mississippi.
Okay, and my mom was, and we didn't go back to either one after he retired. We stayed here.
Wow.
So we weren't around family, so she made sure, yeah. She had her interest. She would go, she was out here and there, but I remember her home life was great. Yeah.
Yes.
Making sure she took care of her children, and her and my dad, they worked as a team.
Wow. And coming back to family food time, that's what on the weekends.
Yes.
Friday night fish fries. All her friends, their friends and family would come together, and it was just a beautiful thing. I was brought up in that, and that's why I love giving gatherings, because that's a part of dinner time. Because like I said, it's who you bring in. Yes. That's your world right there. Is who you bring in. Oh yeah, the food. I hear. Oh my gosh, I remember coming from school and I could be at the front door. Ooh,
and I tried to. Yes, you could smell. What are we having today?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Had to cook for all the kids.
Huh?
Had to cook for all the kids.
Yeah. Yes. And share a little bit about your mom. What did she do, George?
My mother was
say her name.
Vashti McClendon Smith. My mom was a very home person, and some of her Sunday dinners were absolutely wonderful. But I remember coming home from the military, and I had some bad experiences with pork. And she had made this huge pork-based dinner. And I didn't eat pork. She said, "You don't eat nothing." I had some issues in the military. I don't eat pork anymore. And so she was like very upset, but got with it.
That food.
Because it was, again, to change behavior. And just when you go into organizations like that, they do change your behavior. Some for the good, some for the bad. For me, mostly the good. A little bit bad, but mostly good. And so my mom and my stepdad cooked also. And my father was a good cook. So they all kind of like did events and they cooked together. I remember doing a dinner party for Jamie, who's my granddaughter's past. And each of them brought a particular meal.
Somebody bring greens, somebody bring dressing.
And we cooked on a open grill in the back, and it was just absolutely just wild. It was wonderful. And my granddaughter never forgot it.
And you see how you're lighting up?
Yes.
You're lighting up because that's what the dinner time does to you. The memories, you're thinking. And it's like, whoa, being together with family is just.
It's absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
I was going to say too, because when you were talking about it, the smile. You could see it. And I remember when I had my dinner time series 10 years ago, I had Joyce had my first solo show of dinner time. And I was walking through and they didn't really know who I was, some of the people that were watching, but they were doing the same thing. Remember when Aunt da-da-da did this? Or remember this? And I said, that's what I wanted. Yes. That's what I want, because I'm hoping that they'll go back and say, it is important to still have this.
That's right.
It is important for us to, I'm not saying you don't have to 7 days a week, but to sit down every once in a while. Yes. Sit down and have a meal. Go out, even if you go out to dinner. Because that's still, you're getting around the table. Yes, to have a dinner. Yes. And my mom, that's what I think of her. She's Dorothy. Yes.
Miss Dorothy.
Dorothy Jean Barnes, yes.
Dorothy Jean Barnes. We thank you for creating, and that is Barnes. Thank you for creating this lady. We're so grateful and honored to have you in the studio with us.
For coming in.
Yes. I thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to share about any of your other series that you have going on, or what's inspiring you to do the series that you're doing now?
The one I'm working on, a couple of dinner time series.
Okay.
I am working on, because the holidays passed and things have happened. So I've got 3 on the table, but I also have a chef series, and you saw my chef series. And I have a traveling show. It's called In the Kitchen. That left Joyce's, that was in Joyce's last June.
Okay.
Which did very well. And it's myself and another artist, Bahira Spalding. And we do same thing in the kitchen. The chefs are there, but the chefs are those people who take the time, who love you, who cook for you. And I just put them in different settings, or chefs that I know, or dishes that I know. So that one's called In the Kitchen.
Right.
And it was at Joyce, but we hope for it to travel to different galleries. And then of course my Glory series It's on at the Richmond Art Center right now. I think it's up until March 18th is the last day of the Art of Living Black, which is now the diaspora, African American diaspora show. This is a great show. It's at the Richmond Art Center.
Right.
130 African American artists from the Bay Area are showing. Beautiful show.
130?
130, yes.
Oh my God.
And it ends on March 18th is our closing reception. One of my glory series is there.
Yeah.
There's a large glory series.
And it's in Richmond. You said
it's
the
in
Richmond?
Richmond Art Center. Yes. It's an annual. Yes, it's an annual. This is the only. Let me think which one it is. Yeah.
Boy, it's absolutely, time flies when you're having fun. We have
Yes.
10 more minutes. It's like, oh my God.
Okay.
What can you, but we will always have you come back.
Yes.
But
I enjoy it. Yes.
so with the chef pieces series,
That's my chef series.
is there another?
Yes, I have the chef series. My glory series one I'm working on because I'm doing a new
Okay.
carry-on. And then I have the practice. And the practice is a jazz series. That's
Ooh,
one that
yeah.
Joyce, I'm a resident artist there, so Joyce keeps my jazz series upstairs. You know, she has
Yeah.
upstairs. She'll keep that on hand, or she's an art a gallery that you can connect me with. If you're looking for a piece, she'll find it for you.
Oh wow.
On there. My practice series started in the late 70s, early 80s,
Okay.
and it's the music. I have to have jazz music playing.
All right. Okay.
And that actually guides my hand. No matter what I'm drawing, it has to be. Lately, one of my favorites is Peter White, him playing.
Peter White? I like
Yes.
Peter White
And
too.
lately it's been actually George Sample. I can hear, or Walter Beasley.
Yeah.
over
You
and
love
over.
all the artists I
But then I can
love.
go to the extreme, and it can be Prince.
Okay. Hey, whatever
He's
folks
my
you vote.
guy. Yes.
Right,
He'll keep my hand going. But the practice series is I've had the joy of sitting down talking with. I've talked with Peter White or with yes, and he always told me that the best joy is just practicing.
Okay.
Wow.
And I know my music came from my brother is the oldest, and his bedroom was always next to my bedroom, and he's a musician. He's a jazz musician. He has a jazz music. Beautiful.
You better say hello to him.
Beautiful. Will Barnes. He's Will Barnes. He's Will Barnes Jr. Will Barnes Jr.
Okay.
Yes, and he was always on his guitar, an acoustic guitar, and he's a jazz musician. Beautiful. And me hearing that constantly.
Who's he playing with now?
He plays in Fairfield. He's retired now, and he plays in. Yes, he's retired. He still plays with Roslyn. It's at B Sharp Academy. Okay. And he played at Joyce's for me when my opening of In the Kitchen. Oh, beautiful. Beautiful on the guitar, acoustic guitar, jazz guitar, not the bass anymore. But I know that's where my practice series came from, of hearing the music. And my father listened to a lot of jazz, so I would hear that playing through the house. My mother listened to music, so I know all the time. Too. Oh, music! But
I'm
on
a
Saturday,
Brown. I know every James Brown song there.
Saturday morning, you didn't know what you were waking up to, because she loved all music. When I say all music, you didn't know what you were waking up to. And I know that carried on. When I draw, I have to have the music blasting behind me to move my hand. So my practice series, that's where that comes from. And it might come out of jazz musician, but it can be something completely different. Right. But that song has moved me to it, especially if I'm doing a mural. Wow. Yes, and my murals. Murals can be seen all throughout the Bay Area. The closest one to here would be, where do I have one at? In Benicia. Beautiful mural on Bayshore at the Ironworkers Union. Okay. When you walk in the back wall is one that I did. I did it quite a while ago, but I think that's the closest mural I have to here.
Large scale?
Large scale, yes. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yes, as you walk in and into their Ironworkers Union and their back wall. Yes. But I do love the murals. I'm itching for one now. Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah. What's the most complicated use of product or paint that you had to do on one of your pieces? And what was complicated about it?
When I get to the murals, it's I'm working on I was thinking it was the inside of a wall. It's a huge mural. I'm left-handed,
Okay.
So with the
On
when
your
the
back,
complicated
on your
thing,
back, huh?
yeah, I can't move a wall.
Sistine
Right, right,
So
right.
on your
the most
back.
complicated thing, well, it wasn't really complicated, but I had to take the time for like 3 months to teach myself to paint with my right hand
Oh,
because I
wow.
can't move a wall, and I love murals, and I can't.
Right.
And it did help me out. I painted. I helped my friend paint doors, and I just constantly taught myself. I do use both hands, but I'm
Right, right.
left-handed. But just to get the
okay.
that's as in the medias on my 2D medias, I haven't ran to too much. Too much. Like I said, I don't erase.
Okay.
I don't stop. I don't. Whatever goes, it's gonna work.
That's
Yeah.
right.
It's gonna work.
You got to have that mindset.
And I do. My Glory series has text on it, so I write on top. After I finish the piece, there's writing of what I'm thinking
Okay.
of that
Oh, okay.
civil rights, of that,
That's
of what I
great.
thought about John Lewis, what I thought about Martin Luther King, what I thought about, and I have those at all scales. So complicated is after you're finished, it's sprayed. You have this beautiful piece. You got to start writing on it. And so I'm thinking, if I spell something wrong, if I make a mistake, it's over.
Right.
It's like, what am I going to do? So that takes your hand is lifted, and and you're going. But I love it because I can tell it's my writing with that left-handed slant.
All right.
Yeah, so I know it's mine. So if you get to Richmond, you'll see the Glory series.
Okay.
The one that's up there is one of my favorite. And as going back to family, there's always a pinch of family in there, sitting behind the desk on the Glory piece. It's about the wisdom of the old, and that is what our parents have told us.
Okay.
Like you said, with the women, with the Harriet Tubmans, with the what you've learned, but it's us now, and it's just words. That piece just has words from that I can remember that brought me to life. They're written all the way across, but my dad is sitting behind his desk on there. No one knows it's my dad, but I do.
Right, you do.
And yeah, I know. I took it from a photo of him and just sketched him out there. Yeah, he's behind the desk.
Thank you.
Yes.
Wow. That is absolutely so. We know you love music. For self-care, what are you doing like for self-care to keep yourself motivated, healthy, and
I do get my rest. I'm a night out. I start work. I start my drawing like at midnight to 2:30. Make sure I get 8 hours of sleep. About 6 months ago, one of my sisters had me change my diet. So that's my self-care. So it's a very healthy diet.
Okay.
Still eat. I still every once in a while if I go out, I'll eat. It doesn't stop me from eating anything, but she led me to a much healthier diet with that I can tell the difference. Yes.
Oh, that's
great.
Yes.
Cool.
So I thank her for that, my sister Carolyn. Yes.
Thank you, Sister Carolyn.
My other two sisters, Sharon and Dorothy.
And
Sharon is my probably my biggest supporter that I've my whole life. She's a year on me. But for one person that I look up to, that would be her. And then I have my older sister Dorothy, who's also an inspiration. Like I said, I have three older sisters that are very strong, and then I have my brother. Yeah, he's the oldest with the four girls.
Now, how was that in the house?
Yeah. He's a quiet one though.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
Well, he had to be. He has four younger sisters. He's a quiet one.
Everything
quiet.
Yeah. So we had the three. Yes.
That is
great.
Absolutely awesome. Oh my God. So
Yes.
we want to thank you for tuning in to Believe Radio, which is a 24-hour inspirational and gospel music station. Every first Saturday of the month on the Eyes of the Conscious Soul, we bring to you Cafe Le Bleu Lounge. You may have the artist talk, Why I Dream, She Who Believes Takes Off the Mask. Every second Saturday of the month, we have the Medicine Hour. This is where we believe building a better tomorrow starts with us. Every third Saturday of the month, we have Education is the Best Medicine. The founder and producer, Mr. George Pearson. Every fourth Saturday of the month, we have the Lights Out Straight Talk Youth and Young Adult Radio Show. Every fifth Saturday of the month, it used to be the kitchen table. However, we turned it into Voices That Care. However, we want to thank you for, again, on the Medicine Hour. This month is in honor of Women's Month. And we are here with Miss Janet Barnes, an artist / muralist. And we are talking about the different series that she has. But one particular one we're highlighting today is it's dinner time. So we're so grateful and thankful for the wisdom and the knowledge that she shared with us today and bringing our families and community close together because we need each other and we want our community and our families and individuals to get back to dinner time. We have to get that back. We have to get that back. Parting words we want you to share, and then we will close it out.
Parting words. Well, first I would like to again thank both of you for having me.
You.
This
You're
is
welcome.
great.
You'll be
I
back.
love this. Yes, I hope so. I
Oh,
hope
yes.
you'll have me back because
You will be back.
This is great. I love the discussion today.
No,
I really love the
thank you.
discussion.
Thank you.
I know it's about the art, but just everything.
Yeah.
How it's reminding me. It's 2023 and it's looking good. It's positive. And like I said, kindness and patience, and just do what you do on a daily basis with those two in mind. It's the strongest thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's the strongest thing in any form. What you're doing is, oh my gosh, what you're doing, just any form. Yes.
Well, we know that it is important that, like we were saying, building and leaving legacy. Mm-hmm. This is a part of our piece that we give to our community, to our people, is leaving the legacy and the storytellings of our people and the things that we've done and are creating, have created for this world. Yes. So we're it's a part of our call. It is a part of our call, and so many other things that we do, but we're grateful that we are able to use this platform to be inspired other individuals and just tell their stories.
Oh, I agree.
Because I tell people, when you're dead and gone, all you have is your story. Mm-hmm. What are people going to remember you by, other than the things you do, but your story, your life story, good, bad, ugly, challenging. It is important, and don't let nobody take that away from you. You know,
it builds. It really builds, and you're going to touch someone. You're going to touch someone. They're going to touch. It's going to keep going. It really will.
That's right. Yes. So, thank you once again for tuning in to the Medicine Hour. We're so grateful and thankful to have this beautiful woman be a part of today's show on the Medicine Hour, and we hope that in this time that you did get some medicine, spiritual medicine, educational medicine, healing medicine, whatever you needed to get your spirit to follow its dreams and walk in your purpose is what we're here to do. Thank you again for tuning in. We want to say good night. Any parting words, Mr. Pearson?
Thank you. Had a great time. We'll see you next time. Thanks.
All right. Thank you very much.